Greetings, ghosts and ghouls, and welcome to Bad Boo, a podcast conjured for the curious, where we explore all things frights, flicks, and folklore.
We are your haunting hosts, Sam and Jodie, guiding you through every episode of occult exploration and holding your hand the whole way through.
So if you like the sound of spooks, screams, and symphonies, keep listening as we unravel our mystic matter for this week.
In today's episode, we're diving into the strange world of poltergeists. From unexplained bumps in the night to the most famous cases of chaotic spirits.
Love a good poltergeist.
Oh, yes.
But the first question of the episode is, what is a poltergeist?
So, a poltergeist is often described as a noisy or disruptive spirit or entity, and it derives from German folklore, and it's said to be responsible for physical disturbances such as loud noises and objects being moved. And it comes from the mid-19th century from the German word poltern, which means create a disturbance, and Geist meaning ghost.
Ooh.
Interesting.
Very interesting. I didn't know that it derived from the German language.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at the word poltergeist earlier and just seeing the word a bit Geist. I thought that doesn't sound like an English term.
Geist.
Geist, it sounds quite German.
Yeah, I suppose if it was going to be an English term, it would have a H in it, so it didn't make any sense.
Yeah, or silent letters,
Yeah.
of course.
So the main characteristics of a poltergeist, as we have just kind of crept into a little bit, are predominantly loud noises, things like knocking or banging, and also known for physical disturbances, so moving things around, throwing things around, or even breaking objects, ranging from things like cutlery to even large bits of furniture. And in some accounts, they can also have violent actions where they are blamed for more aggressive acts like pinching, biting, and even setting fires in people's homes.
Crikey.
They also have obvious mischievous behaviour, like turning the lights on and off and giving you a little bump in the night, like we mentioned.
Little spook.
Little spook.
Absolutely.
Keeping you on your toes, actually.
Yeah, and it sounds kind of like typical ghost behaviour, but there is a clear difference between a ghost and a poltergeist.
They're definitely... Did you hear that?
Scream?
Yeah.
I think so. That was weird. We'll hear it back when we do this.
That's really weird.
Okay, I'll start this again.
Yeah.
There is a clear difference between a ghost and a poltergeist.
They're definitely... Did you hear that?
A scream. So there is a clear difference between a ghost and a poltergeist.
There definitely is.
So, Jodie, if you'd like to explain the difference between them both.
Of course. So the main difference is that a ghost is generally the spirit of a deceased person, and they're often visible but just unable to interact physically with people. So that's usually if you're going to see anything in your bedroom, or if you're going to take a picture and there's somebody there, then it's usually a loved one, or they can appear as orbs and things like that, and that's a ghost. That's a spirit generally.
Yeah.
However, a poltergeist is usually completely invisible, and their mischievous acts set them aside as they're entities that cause physical disturbances, like moving things and loud noises and slamming doors, etc., like we just previously mentioned. But they are also linked to psychic energy of people who are living in a household. So they are associated with high emotions like stress or trauma.
Interesting.
Yeah. So we have got two little charts that we're just kind of pop in and out of here. And again, like we just said, it's the spirit of a deceased person. For a ghost, usually the lingering soul of somebody that's passed away, and it's usually either an invisible imprint of a person. So when you don't necessarily hear footsteps, but you can see a little footstep in the floor somewhere, and you're hold on, that wasn't me. I didn't walk there earlier.
Yeah, I say in photographs.
Yeah, or in photographs, or if you see little dashes of light across your bedroom, etc., etc. And the fact of they can sometimes communicate with people.
Yeah.
Whereas poltergeists are disruptive, entirely invisible, until you kind of get a psychic or somebody in to actually tap into that type of energy.
It's quite scary, really, thinking about that.
Yeah.
Just completely invisible, even on photographs.
Yeah.
To the eye. Quite freaky.
Well, and they're capable of so much more mischief than usual ghosts.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
it is, because they're so destructive and chaotic, that it's much scarier that they're completely invisible compared to the other ones.
Yeah, absolutely. It is quite scary.
Yeah.
In that regard.
Mm-hmm. And the fact that they manifest and feed off of people's emotions and stresses in certain situations is even scarier, because then surely that means that you can just like accidentally conjure one yourself.
Yeah, you could.
Ugh.
You know, you get a high stress situation, you accidentally get a poltergeist living with you. It's like,
of course.
and after that, it just adds some more stress. It's already been a bit of a vicious cycle.
Yeah. Another poltergeist after another.
Yeah, endless poltergeists.
And that brings us on to another question of, where do poltergeists come from? So,
poltergeists are believed to come from one or two main sources, really. So, it either comes from essentially a supernatural spirit, or it's an energy phenomenon which is created by a person, which is obviously what you were alluding to earlier, Jodie.
Yeah.
But in the spiritual explanation, poltergeist is often an invisible ghost that makes physical disturbances, like you were saying, and it's often attributed to a spirit acting out of anger or frustration.
Mm-hmm.
So there's many theories behind why they behave in such a way. So the angry spirit version of a poltergeist proposes that it is the spirit of a dead person who is unable or unwilling to move on. So the spirit may be lashing out anger or confusion about its death.
Completely understandable, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean,
if I was stuck
surely
in
most ghosts
purgatory,
would become a poltergeist, you would have thought.
Yeah, if I was stuck in purgatory too, like, best believe I'd be kicking up a fuss about it, and I'd be like, hey, I'm still here.
Yeah,
like,
where am I?
You can't get rid of me that easily.
It must be confusing.
And then we also have the secondary natural kind of explanation, which again just derives back to the meaning of the word, which is just that it's a noisy ghost. So it's a ghost that has slightly more energy than your like bog standard like haunting, and so they're able to move things and make loud noises, etc., etc. But they may not necessarily be angry like the angry spirit alternative to that. Yeah. On the other hand, we have the psychic / not like human centered explanation, and it's just a different theory that suggests that they aren't actually ghosts, but they are invisible energies created unconsciously by living people, which is the one that we touched on a second ago, about it being about stress, anxiety and anger, and like highly felt emotions like that. So the first bit of that taps into unconscious energy, and it suggests that poltergeist activity is a manifestation of the subconscious mind. And so when there's repressed emotions like stress or anger, etc., etc., then these certain emotions turn into energy clusters and actually start to manifest things. Because as you might know, energy is something that cannot be created or destroyed. That is one of the main laws of physics. But it can obviously change state. Like, things can change from like gas to liquid, for example, or vice versa. And some liquids can turn into a solid and they can't, the other way around. So who's to say that it's not the same with energy?
Exactly.
Because that's what this is basically suggesting. So
it's a mystery.
Who knows? And then we have the other side of the human and like the human-centered and psychic explanation, which is psychokinesis, aka telekinesis as well. And that is the phenomenon associated with a person who has the ability to move objects with their mind. So this is saying which probably isn't the one that's more likely to happen.
This is quite supernatural in itself.
Quite supernatural in itself, yeah.
It's
We're talking like superpowers now.
Yeah.
But this was genuinely like a highly sought after explanation for poltergeist activity, which I thought was quite funny. You're trying to explain something supernatural with something else supernatural. Yeah. But it was pushed by like a lot of scientists and stuff when I was researching it earlier. Yeah, that's really interesting how like the supernatural explanation of a poltergeist is, coupled with another supernatural thing that, how do you explain psychokinesis? Yeah. Or telekinesis? Exactly. It's sort of, I don't know how to feel about that. Yeah. That theory. I think the others, you can imagine / see. Yeah, I feel like the other ones make sense, but that one's just kind of like, like a poltergeist can move things. Humans with this apparent superpower can move things, so let's just put it in the same box. Yeah, it just, I don't know. I don't really think that one makes a lot of sense. But we divulge.
We do.
Something that I got a little bit kind of concerned about when I was researching into this episode, with it mentioning like angry spirits and not being able to see them, poltergeist experiences also associate themselves with things like bad smells and suppressed trauma, like we were saying a second ago.
Yeah.
And that, to me, as someone who's like very interested in the occult and the paranormal and supernatural, would usually suggest a demonic presence in a home.
You put 2 and 2 together and think, hold on a minute.
Yeah. Like you
Demons.
read enough of the Bible, you watch enough of the horror films, you look into enough like demonologist type websites, and you watch a couple of exorcisms online, and you like have like a basic understanding of like what a demon's gonna kind of show itself as.
Mm-hmm.
And the base kind of understandings of a demon usually associate themselves with bad smells and like loud noises in the middle of the night, and attaching to you when you are going through like stressful or anxiety filled situations. So then that brought me on to the question of what's the difference between a poltergeist and a demon, because there's obviously one between a poltergeist and a ghost, but who's to say there's not one between a poltergeist and a demon? You know?
Yeah. And it's, you know, again, like we were talking about earlier, as poltergeists are sort of derived from a living person, or can be, as one of their sort of main explanations, and it's sort of energy based. You know, but while, you know, alongside that, a demon is often seen as very malevolent and is a very supernatural entity that was never a human.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the key difference here, is that poltergeists, you know, while they are similar to ghosts in the respect that they are still a person that is moved on after death.
Mm-hmm.
Well, poltergeists, have they moved on? Perhaps not.
But all they're related to like people's energy, so
People's
they're still coming
energies.
from a human
It's
source.
still in relation to a person, whether it's, you know, it was a person or an energy from someone that lives there. But a demon, like I say, is much more sinister, and it is never has been human, and it's there just to cause destruction and pain, you know, often.
Yeah.
And like I say, demons often include manipulating a person to commit evil, and it causes destruction through supernatural means. So often their behaviour may start out similar, and we'll be looking at cases in a little bit of time that, you know, might muddle the two.
Yeah.
But often in time it's very clear whether you're dealing with a poltergeist or whether you're dealing with a demon.
Yeah.
You know.
Which, if we do look into the two kind of like separately but side by side, then like we have previously mentioned in the differentiations between a ghost and a poltergeist, etc., we have like it's caused by a living person who's experiencing high levels of stress or high emotions. It's usually called a noisy spirit or like a racket ghost, hence Polten and Geist, the two German words associated with the origins of it. And it's like loud noises, objects moving, doors slamming, etc., but it is always kind of localized to a person or to a place that's attached to a person that is causing it. And it kind of usually only really causes like physical disturbances and things that are like a response to the stress that's being caused to that person. Whereas when you put it with the basics of the outline of what a demon is, then we have like a being that's supernatural and was never human, just like Sam was saying. And of course, if you're going to look into the biblical side of it, then we have the fallen angel term for a demon. And they are like purely malevolent entities that are inherently evil but are also very intelligent, where poltergeists are like energy-based and human-based phenomenons, where these are completely separate beings. They're not even like energy-based or just kind of there. They are their entire own
thing,
ballpark, basically.
They're there to cause complete mayhem, but in the most sinister way.
Yeah, they're far more destructive and definitely more like insidious than a lot of poltergeists are.
Absolutely.
And obviously, like we were saying before, they can possess people to do evil things, which poltergeists can't do. But demons are also often very cunning and manipulative and create false clues to revolve around other hauntings, to kind of allude to the fact that it's not a demon that's in control of the situation.
They're like misleading people.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, that kind of like separates the two.
There is a clear difference, but I think only once.
Yeah.
There's been a bit of an investigation.
Of course,
because there's like a very like fuzzy, blurry, foggy line to start with.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, then they go in their own different tangents.
Yeah,
I think you can start seeing different behaviours.
Yeah.
Come from that, and then you can start saying, right, what are we dealing with here?
I think what you would maybe put as like the baseline of like, okay, this is a haunted house type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And you didn't know if it was demonic or if it was poltergeist activity, you'd think, okay, like loud noises. Yeah. And then for me, the question would be, okay, are the noises in threes?
Yeah.
Does it mock the Trinity?
What are the patterns?
What are the patterns there?
Mm.
Or like that bad smell that you have, is it to do with the poltergeist? And it's just like a bad smell of like, I don't know, your nan's roast dinner that she's kept in the fridge for 4 days.
The nan again.
Or is it rotting flesh and sulfur, which is commonly associated with demons?
Yeah.
You know? They're like you were saying, it's a very, very thin, very blurred line that as soon as you step into that, the only way of figuring out what the difference is by exploring both ways, basically.
Absolutely. And I think, going off of all of that, during paranormal investigations,
mm-hmm.
during exorcisms, often when an exorcism is carried out, that's often when you'll see the demon like fulfill itself.
Yeah, of course.
And that's where the investigation will sort of conclude what it is.
Yeah, you can't exorcise a poltergeist.
No,
for a start. But you can exorcise a demon.
Yeah.
So
when there's a response
exactly
to the said possessed person, that's when, if there is a response from this said exorcism, that there very, very much likely is a demon at play here.
So with that, we're going to give you a little insight into the first accounts of poltergeists.
A little bit of poltergeist history for you.
Obviously, there could be different accounts that are probably like hidden or sourced in, I don't know, like the Vatican somewhere or something like that.
I'm sure so.
But from the good old work of the internet, a little bit of help from AI, and as much reading and bookmarking as possible, these are the earliest accounts that we could find. So, the very first accounts of poltergeist were found in ancient Rome in the Roman festival of Lemuria, which I'm probably saying very, very wrong, and it involved rituals to appease angry spirits or lemurs and prevent them from causing any mischief, which basically suggests that there was a long history before that of like mischievous ghosts and spirits causing havoc to the local people.
Yeah, similar sort of beliefs to that.
Yeah. And
then in 9th century Germany, so this was in 858 AD, so a very, very long time ago. A priest named Rudolph, not to get mixed up with the reindeer, Christmas episodes will be coming, so don't worry, recorded a farmhouse haunting in Germany. The family experienced stones being thrown, loud knocking sounds and fires, which Rudolph documented in the annals.
Mm-hmm. But just before the 9th century event in Germany, we actually able to find one that happened even earlier than that. I'm not sure if the date is quite right, but it says 94 CE. When I was doing my research, it did say that it was before 858 AD. So we're going to go with it. Obviously 94 is a smaller number than 858.
Yep.
So we'll assume that it is before.
I believe so.
Because I get confused with my CEs and ADs and BCs and etc. etc. However, this one is a particular account from a Jewish historian called Flavius Josephus, and it is the claim for the first ever poltergeist activity ever recorded.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
All that time ago. And basically, in his work, which is the Antiquities of the Jews, Josephus describes an exorcism that he witnessed in the presence of a Roman emperor called Vespasian. And the event featured a Jewish exorcist named, I'm going to butcher this,
Eleazar, which is spelled Eleazar, for those who are wondering. And it employed methods attributed to King Solomon, and the procedure went as follows. It involved a ring, which Eleazar placed with a special root to the nose of a man who was thought to be possessed by a demon. He recited incantations which drew the demon out through the possessed man's nostrils while invoking the name of Solomon. And then, as the final display of power, he placed a basin of water some distance away and commanded the demon that it exited the man to knock over the bowl of water. And while he was reciting his incantations and continuing to provoke this so-called demon, the invisible force overturned the entire bowl of water, providing proof of the demon's expulsion.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
I think all that time ago, and it's stuff we kind of see in movies now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the exact sort of accounts of, you know, demonic exploration and investigation and exorcisms, especially in like The Exorcist.
Yeah.
And The Conjuring, sort of as very notable examples.
Mm-hmm.
That's the type of stuff you see in that.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's all that time ago.
All that time ago. And it's crazy that it's obviously the same techniques that people are doing nowadays of like, I'm imagining that the ring kind of had like some religious like symbol.
Mystical power.
Yeah, exactly. Which nowadays, if you were going to be doing like an exorcism through the kind of like Christian route, which is usually the one that is taught, I believe, by the church, then you're obviously using things like crucifixes and rosaries, etc., etc. So maybe that ring acted as religious conduit that was used.
Yeah.
I'd imagine that would be the case.
Yeah, likely. That's probably like the version at the time.
Yeah.
To carry out an exorcism.
And this is what we were talking about earlier with the difference between poltergeist and demons. There is a very evident difference between the two. However, like we were saying, the only way to find out if it is a demon or if it isn't a demon is to follow the same kind of code of practice. So that's what these people have done in these situations, is that they don't know if it was actually a demon. They don't know if it was actually a poltergeist or not. It just so happens that in this situation, they believed it to be a demon and followed the route of exorcism, probably, I'd imagine, after testing to see what was actually happening to this poor man who got his soul tormented and got it removed from like this demon out of his nostrils.
Yeah, and these practices are obviously like ways of ruling out whether it's a demon or something else, like a poltergeist or a regular sort of possession of some sort, which, you know, brings us on to some more notable cases.
It does. And that's what we asked you to keep in mind with these cases, is these are noted as poltergeist cases. However, a lot of them, as we get more and more into it, you might see relations to demons, or you might see that they are actually demon-related cases.
So, I mean, there are some blurry lines.
Yeah, there are a lot of blurry lines between them.
But these are obviously described as being poltergeist cases that we have found.
So it's up for you to decide, are they poltergeists or are they demons?
Just let us know in the comments.
Yeah.
And while you're there in the comments,
on
your way back up from the comments, click subscribe.
Yep. And turn on the post notification bell while you're there.
You know, we're doing great. The Bad Boo community is growing slowly, and we're really pleased with all of your support and your engagement with our episodes.
And we love and appreciate every single one of you.
So thank you. And go and click the link in the description as well to follow the Boo Crew on Patreon.
Don't forget about the Boo Crew.
Don't forget about it.
Only cool people are on the Boo Crew.
Yeah. Whereas next week, we'll be bringing our first Boo Crew episode out.
Yep.
And that's a little secret. So keep an eye on our socials. You will find out. Oh, yes. So going back to some more notable cases of poltergeist activity. One is titled The Drummer of Tedworth, which occurred in 1662. So if you haven't seen our last episode called Witches, go and check it out if you haven't. This is around the same time as the whole witchcraft thing was going on. Mm-hmm. So all of the witchcraft cases and trials were all happening at this time, which is relevant. So I'll tell you about it. So in 1662, an English magistrate named John Mompesson.
What a name.
Crazy name.
I know.
Confiscated a drum from a travelling drummer who was accused of being a fraud. So soon after, Mompesson's house was plagued by violent poltergeist-like disturbances. So this included some like loud drumming noises, which is a bit freaky. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the drummer could have come back.
Yeah.
Give me my drums back. And furniture moving and objects flying through the air.
As you do.
So this is very typical poltergeist or demonic activity that we could be reading about here. But the drummer, William Drury, later confessed to causing the phenomena through witchcraft, those skeptics at the time and since have suggested that activity was a hoax. The events were widely publicised and became a famous case in the history of paranormal research. That's quite a big thing over drums.
That's quite the hoax to be throwing, though, over your drums.
You lose your drums and then you claim you're a witch.
Did you touch my drum set?
You touch my drums. Yeah, I'm now a witch.
Yep. Plot
Wow.
twist.
Plot twist. I mean, that's crazy.
Mm-hmm. But also to admit that you were a witch at that time and that you just did that through witchcraft.
You had a bit of a death sentence going.
Yeah, I know he was probably doing it to kind of like scare the magistrate into thinking that he was going to cause him like more havoc or something.
Yeah, probably to get his drums back.
Yeah. But like, you've just given yourself a death sentence.
Yeah, it's quite, at the time, it's like, probably sting a little.
Yeah.
Don't say that at that point.
No.
It's a bit fresh.
Have some sense, my guy.
Yeah.
That's just not smart.
Must sting a bit.
Yeah. Anyway, after that confusing little case that we've got, we then have one in 1716, and this is the Epworth Rectory haunting. So between December 1716 and January 1717, the Epworth Rectory, home of the Wesley family, was plagued by a poltergeist named or nicknamed Old Jeffrey. Good name for a poltergeist.
That is.
Solid name.
Old Jeffrey.
Old Jeffrey. Good old Jeffrey.
Probably didn't like the name.
No, probably not. The haunting began with groans and knocking noises that escalated into furniture moving and rattling chains. All of the family members, including the future founders of Methodism, John and Charles, who I believe were the sons of the family, witnessed the disturbances, which they documented in letters. The spirit seemed to react to the family's prayers, especially when they prayed for King George, leading the Reverend Samuel Wesley to suspect a political motive. Despite attempts to find a neutral cause or stop the activity, the phenomena continued for weeks and eventually ended up ceasing suddenly just as it had begun.
Could be a poltergeist again.
Could have been a hoax.
Could have been a hoax. Could be the drummer.
Could be the drummer.
He's come back.
Coming back.
Give me my drums.
With chains this time.
Yeah. Chains. Great one.
Yeah, I think it only reacting to like prayers about the king is a bit sus.
It sort of sounds a bit demonic in some ways, because it's like someone is like, you know, especially at the time, like someone like the king.
Yeah.
And reacting, you know, in quite a way to that as such a symbol of Britain.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, there's something at play here, you know.
But also, something that I think about the cases that we just spoke about, the last two.
Yeah.
Both of them have just randomly stopped.
They did.
Both of them.
It's like they sort of ramp up and then bam.
Yeah, which can happen with a poltergeist, because eventually if their energy, if it is human sourced and obviously you're just not in that situation anymore, it can just go away.
Dissipates immediately.
Yeah. Or if you're not going to pay any mind to it, they can just get bored and leave you alone.
Yeah, that's what we're speaking about energy earlier, about, from humans, and whether it's, a dead person that's, angry, or whether it's created from energy of people in a house, that these, energy can just suddenly come and go.
Yeah, exactly.
So it very much could be a poltergeist from reading that.
Because I can assure you, if it was a demon, they are not leaving that easily.
No, not just from saying about King George.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that you think maybe.
And if anything,
but maybe not.
Yeah.
Don't know.
If you are going to pray, obviously you're going to piss it off if it's a poltergeist or a demon.
Yeah.
But
I mean, poltergeists are pissed off anyway.
Yeah, obviously.
But both will react differently.
Then it's grumpy little ghosts.
The grumpy little bastards. Which brings us on to the next notable case.
Which is, by the way, is, I believe, the most notable poltergeist haunting in the entirety of America. I may be wrong, but from my understanding of this case, because I've heard about it before I even did research, this was a very big one because it involved a very famous person towards the end of it.
Yeah, which is the Bell Witch, which was between 1817 and 1872. So obviously this case, and there's like publicity that stretched out a long way from when it began, essentially. So between 1817 and 1821, a poltergeist known as the Bell Witch terrorized the Tennessee homestead of the farmer John Bell. The haunting started subtly with strange animal sightings and scratching noises, classic type of stuff, but quickly escalated to physical and verbal abuse.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
They were actually hearing it talk to them this time.
That's like a big step up.
Yeah.
So the invisible entity, which called itself Kate and claimed to be the spirit of a disgruntled neighbour, relentlessly tormented the family. Its primary targets were patriarch John Bell, whom it vowed to kill, and daughter Betsy, who suffered beatings, pinching and hair pulling. John Bell's health deteriorated rapidly after this from a mysterious illness that the witch claimed to have caused. And in 1820, he died after ingesting poison that the spirit gleefully took credit for.
Crazy.
And the haunting ended with Bell's death, and after the spirit commanded Betsy to break off the engagement. So its lasting legacy in American folklore was secured by a book published in 1894 and a famous legend that even future President Andrew Jackson fled from the farm in terror.
Yeah. So basically, for anybody that hasn't heard the story before, it was a witch that was supposedly haunting the home because there is a cave that is quite close to the house. So it's believed that they had disturbed the spirit when they had eventually gone into the cave to go and explore it.
Yeah.
And from there, as we just spoke about, they were tormented relentlessly. But the difference was, this wasn't any old poltergeist that was making things move and making weird things happen.
It was doing things to people.
It was doing things to people, but it was talking to them. Like they would have dreams and they would hear like this voice talking to them, or they would see things in their dreams that would be talking to them and saying all these things.
That's crazy. That's so
Or
wild.
in some accounts, they would just talk out loud to themselves during the day and it would talk back and only they would hear it.
That's just so wild to me.
That would fully send me into like psychosis.
Yeah.
But
Anyone.
It's actually believed by a lot of people that the Bell Witch is a demon just disguising itself as a lady, pretty much, because it said that its name is Kate and that it was a neighbour. But then why would a neighbour take responsibility for killing a man? You know?
Yeah.
Especially in the afterlife, what does that do?
I know. It's just...
I feel like the only thing in the afterlife that gets like gratification out of taking a life is a demon.
Yeah.
That's what makes the most sense to me.
I mean, it very much, again, it adopts the typical poltergeist behaviour, but yet it sort of seems like a whole different level.
Yeah.
That it could very much lean into demons. Easily. Or
And-
witchcraft. Or both.
And the funny thing about this case is obviously it mentions at the end that even one of the presidents went to the house, like went to the Bell like estate, like the Bell farm, and genuinely ran away in terror.
Yeah.
Because of all the things that were happening in the house after this incident had happened.
And this is a future, at the time, a future president
Yeah.
of America. You know, someone who's supposed to have that power and fleeing themselves.
Running away with his tail between his legs.
If the president is running, we're all running.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Another thing about this case, which again, this is just from my own personal knowledge, so don't quote me as it may not be 100% accurate, but I believe that the death of John Bell, which as we read just a minute ago, as like Sam read, the spirit of Kate or the Bell Witch took credit for putting the poison in his food. It's actually recorded as the first and only death in America caused by the act of a ghost or from a paranormal source.
Wow.
Which I think is absolutely crazy that there is a death
There
in
we go.
the world that's blamed on a ghost.
Yeah. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
How wild is that?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's the only one, but I'm pretty sure it was definitely the first one.
At least at the time or for a long time.
Yeah.
That's mad to me. Which brings us on to the final case, which a lot of you probably know from pop culture and from a very famous film franchise.
Yes.
Which is the Enfield Poltergeist
And
in 1977.
And if you don't know about the Enfield Poltergeist, it's also known as the Enfield Haunting. It's the biggest haunting, arguably, across the entirety of the UK.
Yeah.
And it was made popular by The Conjuring 2.
Yeah.
Which, if you haven't seen that film, go and watch it. If you have seen the film, it's basically a brief overview of that case.
Yeah.
But because of the activity at the start of that case, it was believed to be a poltergeist in the start.
First.
Yeah.
Which is why it's included in here.
Yeah, exactly. So, from 1977 to 1979, the Hodgson family in Enfield, London experienced a poltergeist haunting featuring furniture moving, knocking noises, and flying objects. The activity centred on the two youngest daughters, Janet and Margaret, with Janet reportedly speaking in a gruff voice attributed to a deceased former resident with the name of Bill Wilkins. American paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren made a brief and uninvited visit to the house, though their involvement was far less extensive than what was portrayed in the film in 2016, The Conjuring 2. The Warrens were convinced that the haunting was a genuine case of demonic possession, but the involvement that they did have had been widely criticised and viewed as an attempt to capitalise on the media frenzy that was surrounding the case at the time.
Just wanted to sort of jump on it.
Yeah.
That's what people were thinking.
And while some investigators believed that the haunting was real, a lot of skeptics kind of pointed to the evidence not being real and that the girls were faking some of the incidents, which Janet later confirmed that she had faked, which in the film they do that as well.
Yeah.
But it's just the kind of demon's way of controlling what's going on in the house. Because if you don't know, in the film, the demon basically threatens one of the girls and says, if she doesn't say that it's fake and the investigators stay there, then the demon's going to kill one of her siblings.
Yeah.
So she has to say that it's fake to get the investigators go away.
Classic demonic behaviour, manipulation.
And despite the controversy, the Enfield Poltergeist remains one of Britain's most famous paranormal cases ever.
Absolutely. I mean, even before The Conjuring 2, like, I'd heard about this.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's iconic, especially for us who live in the UK, to have such an iconic case here that happened relatively near, especially where you were born.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, I know London is massive.
It is North London, because Enfield's like obviously towards the north.
Yeah. But it's closer to where you were born.
Yeah, I'm from southwest London. Like, I'm pretty sure you can go and visit the house nowadays.
I wonder.
If anybody has been there, please comment on this video and please let us know.
Yeah, because we'd like to know. I mean, that'd be great. If you had any experiences there, we'd love to include it in an episode.
If
100%.
If it's not open to the public, they should definitely open that up as like an Airbnb or something.
Yeah, or just some experience of some sort. Some experience of some sort would be great.
Yeah, it would be incredible. So obviously, in the film, they kind of depict the case as being this huge, demonic, ongoing thing that is happening. That in the film, the Warrens exorcise from the home and eventually get rid of. However, where their involvement wasn't so heavy in this case, nobody really knows what happened to it.
Sort of just a lost case.
Yeah, nobody really knows, like, whether it was solved. Nobody really knows if it's still there, if it just went quiet, if it's kind of a dormant thing.
Whether it's true or not.
Whether it's true or not, because obviously
That's
Janet did confirm that a few of the incidents were fake.
Yeah.
But was she being led... Like, was she being misled? Like, if she was in the film?
Like I say, manipulation is such a key demonic behaviour. That is, that could very much be what it was that made her say, yeah, it was fake. It's frightening.
It is really frightening.
It's all kind of frightening things.
That leads us to our next section of the Isle of Fright.
So, going on to our good old Isle of Fright local stories from the Isle of Wight, otherwise known as Ghost Island.
Ghost Island. I'm never going to get over that name.
It's awesome. This is great. We're going to be exploring a little pub down at the bottom of the island.
It's actually quite a big pub.
It's a big pub. It's a very tucked away pub. Right on the coast of Military Road, right by Blackling Chine, if any of you know Black Gang Chine.
If you don't know Black Gang Chine, get to know Black Gang Chine.
Where's your head at? That's what I say. The pub is called the White Mouse Inn, and the story is about a sailor who is called the Bearded Sailor, who haunts the White Mouse Inn and acts as a poltergeist. So the White Mouse Inn's ghostly reputation is deeply rooted in its tragic maritime past and its eerie connection to the 1836 wreck of the merchant vessel, the Clarendon. And so it's right on the coast, and there's a lot of rocks, and that coast goes all the way out to Europe.
Yeah.
If you kept going, it would go out to Europe. So it's a very, very deep bit of sea, very rough probably. So no wonder this happened. So it involved the 345-ton ship which departed from St. Kitts on the 27th of August 1836, and it was bound for London with a cargo full of rum, sugar, coconuts, peppers and cedar. And after 6 perilous weeks at sea, the vessel encountered a violent storm and was driven broadside onto the rocks near Black Gang Chine at dawn on the 11th of October 1836.
Which we've just passed, funnily enough.
Yeah.
The 11th was only a couple of days ago.
When we found this story, it was just around the same time that we found it. And, found the story at the same time as this happened, which we thought was quite wild. So it's very much had to be included in today.
Yeah, it felt right.
So, within 10 minutes, the Clarendon broke apart completely, and it claimed the lives of 25 passengers and crew.
Which is really devastating.
It's devastating.
And that wasn't the only shipwreck on the island, or on that part of the island.
Oh, God, no.
There are so many around the entire thing.
Yeah.
So to think that 25 people, passed away from one is insane.
And if you actually go to Black Gang Chine, which is the theme park of the Isle of Wight, which is the UK's oldest theme park, by the way, which is amazing, which actually sort of became really popular because people flocked from around the world, really, to come and see the remains of the ship, which they kept at Black Gang Chine, and they're still there.
It's still there to this day.
In the museum, over about 200 years later. If you go to Black Gang Chine and you visit the Isle of Wight, go there and you'll actually see the Clarendon, and it tells you a little bit of a story there in a very visual way. It's really interesting.
It's really interesting.
And I didn't know when I used to go when I was younger, and I was really intrigued by the story, that this is the same, as this, and it led to this bearded sailor.
You don't make the connections between the two when you actually see it in person.
So fascinating.
But yeah, it's really interesting. But if we just pop back to the Mouse Inn, the inn is actually believed to have been partly constructed using the timbers that was salvaged from the shattered ship.
Wow.
And many of the locals claimed that the remnants serve as anchors, ironically, for the spirits of those who perished. And among them was the most frequently reported apparition, which is of a bearded sailor who is thought to be one of the Clarendon's lost crew. Witnesses have described a consistent, stocky, weather-beaten man with a full dark beard, dressed in 19th century seafaring attire. He often appears on the top landing during the evening and moves purposefully towards rooms that mirror a ship's headquarters, as though he's still performing his duties throughout the day, and is still on the vessel that eventually was doomed. His lifelike appearance that guests often mistake him for a living person until they realise that he doesn't speak or acknowledge their presence either. Many investigators believe that this haunting is to be residual and that the sailor is trapped in an endless replay of his final moments at sea.
That's kind of sad at the same time, and that he can't interact with people.
I know. It's really, really sad.
In this sort of loop of thinking he's still aboard the vessel.
And he doesn't know.
And, roaming the quarters of the ship. And he doesn't know it. So, accompanying his spectral presence are well-documented patterns of poltergeist activity. So this stuff is really interesting. When I researched this, I had a look for our Isle of Fright section this week. There's accounts of heavy footsteps that echo across the upper floors when they're completely empty, and small personal belongings, particularly those of children, vanish only to reappear later in unlikely places. And one unsettling account from the 1990s, so about a century later, just over a century, tells of a child's lunchbox that disappeared from a guest room and was later found in the inn's cellar, which is precisely where ships' stores would have been kept aboard the Clarendon. Furniture, especially chairs and small tables, are often discovered rearranged overnight, despite being securely positioned the previous evening. And the activity intensifies during autumn storms, when witnesses often report the creak of unseen timbers and distant cries out in the wind, so like echoes perhaps of the Clarendon's final desperate moments.
Ooh.
It's really depressing. I find this is very sad.
It's very sad because it's very real.
Yeah. And moving things around within the inn is it's very spooky.
It's very spooky.
And I think that obviously there's this big confusion, like say Poltergeist, they're often angry or frustrated or confused.
Mm-hmm.
And he's obviously doing this
because he's confused.
He's confused and he's cross because he's thinking, where am I?
And also,
what is this?
Why my thing's being moved everywhere?
Yeah, my stuff's moving around.
Yeah.
He probably thinks it's the shipwreck that's thrown it all around. He's like, oh, I'll put it back there.
Mm-hmm.
It's very sad.
It's very sad. And from the investigations that people have carried out, the paranormal investigators that have been there have recorded temperature drops and electromagnetic anomalies, particularly in the upper corridors. These anomalies that were found predominantly in the upper corridors usually note patterns that are typically related to residual hauntings that are kind of born from trauma. Some of the psychics that have also claimed to be there usually sense multiple presences within the inn, suggesting that the bearded sailor maybe isn't as alone as we thought that he was. And that there are other lost mariners walking around the inn bound by the salvaged timbers of their ship, and that they remain permanently anchored to the White Mouse Inn.
Again, very sad, I find.
It is very sad, but at least they're by the sea, and at least they're not alone.
They're by the sea. I mean, the sea is kind of what led to their demise.
Yeah, so they might not want to be on the sea anymore. Yeah, they don't.
And, they may believe that they are part of the Clarendon still, which is nice, I suppose, but they're obviously, through this poltergeist activity, they're obviously very, very frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the sad part of it, is that from these accounts, they're frustrated. And leading on to some more accounts, real accounts that we know of.
And that are also from the Isle of Wight.
Which is incredible.
We're going into Boo or Bust. So, for this section of Boo or Bust, as you hopefully will know by now if you have seen the rest of the episodes that we've done so far, you will know that this is the section of the podcast where we look into a few videos or pictures or just kind of general media to see if we think that these ghost accounts are real or if they are fake. If they are a boo.
Or a bust.
Or a bust.
Oh, yes.
And today we actually have two very personal accounts. One of them is from Sam. It is a picture that Sam took himself.
Crikey.
With his very own hands.
Yes, I've been so excited. For this episode, I've been so excited to show this one.
He really has been so excited. And the other picture is from a very uneasy sighting that one of Sam's close relatives had and managed to capture a picture of it.
Yeah. Both images are very strange.
Yeah.
And very spooky.
So what we will do is we're going to be uploading these pictures onto our Patreon so that people can see them and have a look for themselves.
They'll be on, join as a free member, they'll be on there.
Yeah.
You can have a look. And, we may upload them to Instagram as well. You can have a look.
If enough people want them in the comments, then we'll upload them to Instagram as well.
Absolutely.
So let us know. So basically, there's these two images. The first one we are going to call Peekaboo.
Ooh, my image.
Peekaboo is Sam's image, and
my image.
I have brightened these pictures. All I've done is I've upped the brightness and I have downed the contrast. So there's not as many shadows, but there is much more light so that you can properly see everything.
Yeah, the original images are very dark.
The original ones are very, very dark, but you can still see it when it is dark because that was how Sam originally captured it when he was younger.
Yeah.
And
this is in, it was in 2016.
Yeah.
I believe was the first image,
Mm-hmm.
peekaboo.
Yeah. I hate that name for it though,
Yeah.
because it's so like sweet and innocent compared to
Yeah.
what the actual
And
picture is.
I'll say the context behind it. So essentially, for my birthday, which is when I was in year 9, which, if you don't know, I don't know what the equivalent is in America or anywhere else in the world for school. But this is like when I was around 13, 14 years old, perhaps. So, you know, you can work out what year of school you're in or school you're in now, to when this was taken. But it was at a very notably haunted place on the island called the Venda Botanic Gardens,
Mm-hmm.
which back a very long time ago used to be a TB hospital, so a tuberculosis hospital. And, you know, obviously tuberculosis back then, massive killer, you know, and there was obviously going to be a lot of death.
Yeah.
A lot. And so the Isle of Wight often does very famous ghost walks. So it takes you around all these different places. So there's like the Venda Botanic Gardens. There's, you know, some in Cowes, so like by Northwood House, Carisbrooke Castle, just to name a few of like very
Notable
cool
ones. Yeah.
But this particular one was for my birthday, and we were on the walk, and we got to a point on the walk where our ghost walk leader, which is Mark Tucky, who's very famous on the Isle of Wight for being a paranormal investigator,
Mm-hmm.
actually he led the whole thing, and we were going down this certain alley, and there's a point, he said, where children from the hospital would play up on the hill, which if you look at the image, it's just on the right where we've circled, which is also where you will see this very smiley,
Disturbing.
do we call it smiley, figure. And I very, very much remember back in 2016 going, I think, was it 2016?
I think so. You said that it was.
Yeah. Yeah. So I
Oh
remember,
yeah, the dates on the picture.
Yeah. So back in 2016, I remember coming home from this ghost walk, and I think it must have been the day after. I sat with my mum and my dad and showing my younger brother, who didn't go on the walk. I was showing them all. We were like going through the pictures to think, oh, I wonder if we captured anything.
Yeah.
And, you know, across the whole set of, it was all captured on digital cameras, because obviously back then phone cameras weren't great. Instagram was sort of a new thing, and Snapchat was new.
Yeah.
So we were looking through just to see what we could find, and there was like orbs and, you know, the classic stuff, which we expected because it's haunted.
Mm-hmm. Which there is in this picture as well.
There is.
If you look directly in the middle of the picture, there is a green orb directly down the
it's very
centre.
blurry
Yeah.
thing. But in this very particular image, I was very keen to spot what appears to be a girl leaning over the fence with a hand on her cheek and another hand leaning over the fence with a bit of a smile.
It gives me like
It gives me chills
looking
every
at
time
it.
I look at it.
It makes me feel sick.
And I remember we were looking through the photos, and I said, oh, I think it's to my dad. I said, oh, go back. I said, what was that? And we zoomed in. I don't know how I spotted it. Something drew me to it. I think it just saw it out the corner of my eye.
Mm-hmm.
And
which is the worst bit, is that like nobody else saw it, and that it was only you that like.
I know. And we zoomed in, and that's what we saw. And, you know, initially you think, oh, could it be the top of the post? But if you look along the fence post, one, the fence posts are a lot taller than that if it were to be a fence post. And two, like the two hands, what would they be? And three, just look at the face. If you're looking at the image right now, please just look at that face.
Please zoom into it and look at the face on this thing.
It is so scary, and I was so chilled by it that all of my family are like, what the hell is that? And, you know, when we were looking through it to sort of think, is it a post, just before we put it on here, we went through to the next image that I took just after this, and that what we see there is not there at all.
It isn't there, which is the absolute
there
scariest bit.
And a few frames later, gone.
Yeah. So
which is really frightening.
Mm-hmm. For those of you that can't see the post or are going to be boring and don't want to sign up to our Patreon, which you should, we're going to leave a description. We're going to leave a link in the description for it.
You'll be a free member and upgrade to our extra
Yeah, free members will be able to see the pictures. All you have to do is put in your email and make a little account, and you'll be able to see these pictures that we're talking about.
Absolutely.
But for those of you that aren't going to be doing that, I'll just give you a brief description of the image. So there is Mark Tucky, aka the tour guide, dressed in like a long black jacket and stood just off the center of the image towards the left hand side. On either side of him is kind of a path that is like raised on either side of like trees pretty much. However, on the right hand side, where the actual image is kind of like, if you would imagine the path in the center,
Sort of on a mound, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all been shifted slightly to the left because Sam's taken a picture of what is on top of the mound, as there is like a fence there. So if you're listening, it's trees on the left hand side, then it's a path that goes like straight on and then curves slightly around to the right. Mark Tucky is in said middle of path.
Yep.
Sam is behind him, camera in hand. There is an orb just to the right of Mark Tucky's head. There is then a raised mound. As you know, when you go on like a walk in the middle of the woods and like just from where all the trees have like been there for years and all the roots are like bulged up and there's loads of rocks and stuff everywhere, that they make their own little mounds. It's like it's raised on both sides.
Yeah.
So that means that the entire left side of the image is where the rest of the right side of the image is where the rest of the mound is. And if you look up to maybe like the top third of the image, there's a small fence that kind of comes out of one of the trees, and you would imagine goes across and kind of across the other way. So it would make a corner where the corner would meet behind the actual tree. Right? Does that make sense?
Yes.
So if you zoom in to where you think the corner would be of the actual fence in the top part of the image, I've circled it for people that are going to look online. It's really difficult to describe, so please go and look at it if you have the chance to. I'm zooming in on it now and it's making me absolutely feel like I'm going to throw up. When you look in the circle that I put there, not only is there a small kind of flash of like what looks like an orb on the actual tree itself, which isn't like a moth or anything, because you would be able to tell its shape because Sam did take these pictures with the flash on.
Yes.
But when you look slightly to the right hand side, just a little bit between the two angled branches, there's what you think would be a fence post. However, you can see even on the fence post next to it that the fence post, that's actually made me feel even more sick looking at it now. I always thought that when I looked at this picture that there was like a bit on top of the fence. Like, you know, when the fences kind of cross over.
Yeah.
And you have the bit sticking out of the floor.
The top of the post.
Yeah. And then you always come down about 3 or 4 inches from the top of the fence.
Yeah. And
then put the rest of it across.
Yeah.
I always thought that the rest of the fences had that top bit where there was like an intersection.
Yeah.
But I've just noticed, if you look at the fence that's like in the middle of the edge of the picture and the middle of the tree, there is no top to the post on the fence.
Mm-mm.
So if that doesn't prove that there is no top to the post of that fence and that there is nothing there, then I don't know what's going to prove that. But if you look at the post directly next to the tree, there is clear as day a head with 2 hands that are like perched around the top bit of the fence.
Yeah.
And it's got 2 eyes and just a very faint shape of like a nose and a mouth, and it just dissipates into complete darkness in the background.
Yeah. Almost like one of the ghost children that was spoken of.
Yeah.
Come to have a little look at who's come to visit them.
Mm-hmm. But it's also said that a few of those ghost children may not be children, right?
Yeah. As far as I remember, there's allusions to the fact that there was, there could be some sort of demon activity / quite malevolent ghosts there. So it could be a poltergeist.
Yeah.
Where it's playing a trick, even just through cameras.
Mm-hmm.
You know, knowing that like we were all there and that we'd see it, and that's why it's putting a little smile on for us. Kind of like I'm a little mischievous child, and I'm gonna cause a little bit of discomfort for anyone looking at the photo.
Or it could be something that's maybe not a child.
Something far more sinister.
Something far more sinister.
Who knows?
Who knows?
That is peekaboo for you. So let us know what you think about it in the comments, and on Instagram if you're looking at it, let us know there as well. I'm baffled, and that was what, nearly 10 years ago now that happened, which is just insane. So
it's genuinely a really haunting image when you look at it closer.
It is. It really is.
It really, really is. It's really just...
Yeah, it terrified me for such a long time.
Yeah, completely
and we all,
unsettling.
All my family remember it. Everyone that was there and seen the photo, it's like, it's bold. That image in our mind is there. Which moves us on to the next photograph that we have conjured up for you in our Boo or Bus section, which we have titled Unease Soldier.
Yeah. And the reason for this is because there is a very clear depiction of what you would only assume to be a cavalry or foot soldier from a very old type of war in this image. Yeah. So this image is owned by one of Sam's relatives, as one of their friends took it as they were like helping out to clear a house, and they were taking pictures of the items that needed to be sold essentially. And in this image, the one that we're going to upload is a picture of the photo, because it is a fully developed actual printed out.
We included, I think it's my hand or your hand, I think, and we took the photo on a phone.
Yeah.
Of the developed photograph.
Yeah, because it's a very old picture.
It's a very old photo, and what was being sold or wanting to be sold was a mirror, in which one of my family members, who I won't name, has this photograph, and their friend
who took this. So their friend was alone in the room at the time.
Absolutely.
And Sam's relative was elsewhere in the house. And the person was going around and taking pictures of the things that needed to be sold, essentially. And there is a black mirror on a completely white wall with a door frame just poking in on the left-hand side. And the image has been taken from kind of an angle to the right, so that the person taking the image, as I believe it was a lady, isn't in the picture. So she took this picture knowing that she wasn't going to be in it, because she wanted to take a picture of the item to be sold, right?
So you can see the quality of the mirror.
Yeah, she didn't want to have a reflection in it at all.
Yep.
However, when they went and got this picture developed, this picture didn't need that much brightening. I've done the same that I did to the other picture, in that all I've done is increase the brightness and decrease the contrast.
Yeah.
However, I'll upload the original versions and the edited version so that people can see. But you don't even have to zoom into this one. If you look directly in the reflection of the mirror on the wall,
it is so clear.
There is a clear as day man or person with very short hair who is like, you can see the shape of the fireplace in the background, about maybe 6 foot.
Probably, yeah, wearing a black, like, long coat.
Wearing a long black kind of trench-looking coat.
Yeah.
With kind of like a high collar, and you can almost see like epaulettes on the shoulder.
Yeah.
Which gives like a very military type of feel. But not like your traditional kind of military style, like a World War type soldier that would have a helmet and everything on. It looks very much like a foot soldier or cavalry type of apparition. And I do believe that when we were talking to Sam's relative, that the bit of black on the wall behind the apparition is actually like a wall light, kind of like a sconce. If anybody's an interior designer and knows like what a sconce is, you'll have very big appreciation for me using that word. But basically sconces are like the decorative bits that hang over lights that you put on the wall, and there's just a very big kind of elaborate one in the background, as the place did have high ceilings, so they needed to light up the top of the room so that monsters wouldn't spawn in there.
Little Minecraft reference.
But yeah, this image is like clear as day.
It's so clear as day, and I remember seeing it before, and it's shocking. I mean, I saw it years ago last, but we contacted my relative who owns this photograph.
Yeah.
And he kindly agreed for us to use it.
Yeah.
In Bad Boot, which is absolutely incredible because it's such an iconic photograph in our family.
It really is. As soon as we mentioned that we were doing this episode, all of your like family was like, "Oh my god, you have to use like the soldier image."
In the mirror, yeah. And yeah, it's so clear, and it's from an old camera, you know, whether it's a digital camera or a disposable camera or even older. It very much is a very, very clear image of an old soldier standing beside the person who took the photograph.
Yeah. So where the angle that they're standing at, this soldier would have had to have been directly behind them and then towards the middle of the room a little bit, because they had angled themselves off to the right-hand side.
Yeah, to avoid the flash in the mirror.
Which you can see the flash in the mirror from like the glistening parts on the frame.
Yeah. That is so...
It's spine-chilling.
The more I look at it, it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
It's so incredible.
Exactly.
You can see where the eyes are. You cannot deny that it is not a person.
And also my question was, which I'm not sure if your family had noticed or not, but even when you look at the person, if you go slightly to the left a little bit, like still in the middle of that circle, there's a big white blur which is closer to the floor.
Yeah, I can see.
And like nobody, it was only those two in the house.
Yeah.
Your relative was in a different room.
I believe
so this lady is like by herself.
Yeah.
So what is that on the floor as well?
I have no idea.
God knows.
Does God know? I don't.
Neither do I.
It's, yeah, those two images, incredible.
Yeah.
So, you know, go and sign up to our Patreon, have a look at it there. Or if you have Instagram, have a look at it there. They'll both be on there.
And give us your ratings as to whether you think that they are boo or busts. Tell us how scary you think they are. Send us your spooky pictures that you've got.
Yeah, you can be included in our boo or bust. Why not? We'd love to have you there and love to have your spooky encounters included in our episode.
And you can do all of that for less than a cup of coffee.
Yeah, just £3 a month for our Patreon, and we'll be uploading a bunch of spooky content.
Yeah.
So we might do some whispered stories. We'll be doing, and these stories will be very, very spooky, much more spooky than the stuff we have on here.
Yeah.
And we'll be doing Q&As. We're doing film reviews. A whole bunch of things, live chat, hangouts, film nights.
We might even play some spooky games for you guys if that's what you want to see.
You know, the whole lot, real big package for less than a cup of coffee a month.
Yep. And if you are finding a coffee for less than £3,
please
where the hell are you finding it? Because please let us know.
You know, we you know, all the support you guys can give us, like on a serious note, we really appreciate it, and allow us to go and explore some of these places, and you know, begin some more like high production stuff for you. You know, it really does help us out.
It really does.
For just, you know, that price, we want to give you lots of stuff.
It makes such the difference to the content that we can produce for you guys.
It does.
And it really does contribute to just making Bad Boot a bigger and better brand, and bringing you new types of content, and just covering everything from ghost investigations to film reviews. Yeah.
And we just want to build a great community of people who love spooky stuff, paranormal investigations, supernatural things, and absolutely love the hell out of horror movies.
Yeah, because
that's what we are.
We're not just here for October. Obviously, our first episode of Bad Boo has been posted in October. However, this is something that me and Sam are deeply passionate about, and you can ask anybody that knows us. This is something that we are going to continue throughout the rest of the year. And beyond that. So we're always going to be a safe space for people who are interested in the paranormal and the supernatural and the occult And anything interesting or, like, frankly weird that other people may just think is a little bit strange for you to think of those types of stuff.
No one's going to judge.
No one's going to judge you here. This is a safe space.
We want to, we just want, like I said, it's a community for people who just love spooky stuff.
It's
movies
our little boo
or
crew.
real stuff. And you can be part of our boo crew.
Yeah.
And that is the whole point.
Our little ghostly family. You can be part of that.
So, link in the description or link in the bio if you head onto Instagram or Facebook or TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
Head onto there, go to our Patreon and sign up.
Yeah.
Just see what it's all about. Check us out.
And just to conclude that little section, Sam, what are we saying for Peekaboo out of 10? Boo or bust?
11 out of 10 boos for each.
I'm going to give it a 14 out of 10 boo.
Damn.
Yeah.
I've been outbooed.
It's really very spooky.
Spookalicious.
And what are we going to say for Unease Soldier out of 10? Boo or bust?
Definitely the same. It's got to be.
Boo. Yep.
Yeah. Amazing. Love it.
Oh, both very just like raw, spooky images.
And they're personal.
They're
images.
really personal. That's
so
what makes it
I have such a
scarier.
connection to these images, and I'll vouch for them.
Well, even when your family was telling me like the individual stories about both of these things, it's so like wild hearing about the interactions that even were based around these and what came from these and all these types of things. It's so.
I mean, I've always been very into the paranormal, but when I had took that image, I was like, hell yes, it is real.
Yeah.
It is so real, and the soldier one as well.
Mm-hmm.
Incredible.
And on to talking about other incredible stuff. That leads us on to our next segment of the Silver Scream.
So we're going to start our Silver Scream section, as we have been doing, with a little movie quote for you. And as always, we want you to try and guess to whether you know what this film is or not. And obviously this will be the film that we're going to be speaking about, which you might guess from what the episode is, but if you don't, here's the quote for you.
So it's a little bit more than a quote this time, just because there's two characters.
Bit of a dialogue.
So me and Sam are just going to be doing a little bit of a dialogue for you. Prepare yourself for some, actually probably not that bad American accents, but some American accents nonetheless. Okay.
Oh God.
Ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Sweetheart, last night when you said they're here.
Can I take my goldfish to school?
Sweetheart, do you remember last night when you woke up and you said they're here?
Uh-huh.
Well, who did you mean?
The TV people.
Dun dun dun.
Oh my goodness. Trash American accents. We had to do it. I'm really sorry about those accents.
I'm not.
I very much am.
I hope you enjoyed it, but don't get used to it.
I'm not an actor. Please don't come for me. All right, so this is the supernatural horror classic with the same title as our episode, which is the 1982 film directed by Tobe Hooper and co-written and produced by Steven Spielberg, Poltergeist.
Ooh.
Oh yes. So Poltergeist again is, it's 80s all over.
Yeah.
You got references in there to Star Wars, which obviously, Star Wars is a massive pop culture thing anyway. But regarding semiotics in terms of signs and what you see in the film, it's an 80s film. It's very much set in America. Very much culture to like movies and stuff. And Poltergeist is a classic.
It is.
It's very much a classic.
It's a cult supernatural, like.
It's a classic in paranormal movies, and I think that in terms of regarding paranormal stuff, in terms of like outright ghosts, this is probably one of the first like really big films to include a poltergeist type behavior.
I know it scared my older siblings when it first came out.
Yeah.
And like in the following years after that, because they were born in 1980 and 1983.
Right, yeah.
So this was the film that they were like scared of as they were like growing up.
I mean, it would. I mean, if you saw it as a kid, it would freak you out, and especially seeing as, you know, the main character, Carol Ann, is a
5
child.
at the time, in the film.
You know, if you were a kid watching it, you'd think, oh God, I'm not going to go near my bloody TV. There might be people speaking to me.
And for those of you that haven't seen the film, you're probably thinking, what the bloody hell are these weirdos talking about?
I don't know how you haven't seen the film. It's a classic.
If you haven't seen Poltergeist, go and watch Poltergeist.
Go and watch
in our opinion, it's not the most amazing film ever made,
No.
but it's such a notable cult classic that is so important to the horror genre that you need to go and watch it.
It's iconic.
Just for the sake of it, just to say that you've seen it. And for those of you that are going to be really stubborn and you're not going to watch it, I'm going to give you a quick little plot summary. So,
here we go.
The Freeling family's quiet life in the Californian suburb of Cuesta Verde is disrupted by strange occurrences. That's the overriding kind of plot line of the film.
That is the plot line.
So the phenomena begins subtly with chairs sliding across the floor on their own. This then progresses into the youngest daughter, Carol Ann, beginning to communicate with the ghost through a television which is set as broadcasting to static, famously proclaiming the line, "They're here," which if my 5-year-old said that to me, I would be absolutely terrified.
I'd say, get out.
I'd be like, they're gone.
You're gone.
The playful hauntings that start out just kind of around Carol Ann to start with start to get a little bit more sinister, and Carol Ann is pulled into the paranormal dimension, which is based in her bedroom closet.
Yikes.
So after this, I mean, as if like wardrobes when you're a kid couldn't get any scarier.
I know. It's just off you go.
There's now a film about like a little girl getting dragged into like a ghost, like parallel dimension.
Yeah, off you go.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Oh, my hand squeaked on the table. Returning back to the plot, the family consults a team of, bear with me while I say this, parapsychologists. I thought it was going to be much more difficult than that. And a spiritual medium named, okay, bear with me on this one, Tangina. I'm not quite sure what it is. We'll go with Tangina because it's funnier. Tangina Barons, who reveals that a powerful demon known as the Beast is holding Carol Ann captive in this paranormal dimension. The Freelings also discover during their exploration that their new development of a house was built on a former cemetery, but only the graveyard stones were moved and not the actual bodies themselves. So
Crazy.
I won't read the last line of the plot summary as it's kind of like the main building bit of the film.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's
It's kind of the gist of the old Poltergeist.
general kind of messy overview of the film. But the film is a little bit messy, I would say, anyway. So it's okay to kind of go in with that approach.
I mean, like the film is great, and I think both of us have become very accustomed to quite obscure / modern / artistic movies.
Yes.
And I think that there's such a taste to them that very Hollywoodized, as I like to call it, films like Poltergeist are a little bit more unappealing. And I think that also Poltergeist is very, you know, the acting is really the main part of it that I'm not very keen on.
Yeah, it's very melodramatic. It's very kind of out there. And it's very quite like stereotypical my house is haunted type stuff.
Yeah. But again, I think does not take away, we're not hating on this film by the way, how iconic and influential it is.
You know, it's so important and pivotal for horror, and especially the supernatural like subcategory that came like particularly from this film in horror as a genre. Yeah, it created its entire own subgenre.
Yeah, and it's famous. It's such a famous film.
Yeah, and it paved the way for so many like paranormal films that came after that and really made such a big difference to the supernatural genre.
It did
entirely.
Yeah.
And one of the most like kind of pivotal reasons that this film is so important to that genre and so famous is because it actually has a long-standing urban legend known as the Poltergeist curse. And this gained traction due to like a few really tragic events and alleged paranormal happenings that occurred during the film's production and after the film's production of the original like trilogy that came from this.
Yeah, I think a lot of horror fans are aware of the urban legend.
Yeah.
And that it is considered a cursed film.
Mm-hmm.
You know, alongside like there's other films, obviously like The Exorcist, which came out about 9 years before this, they're all cursed films. So some sort of tragedy or reaction has happened because of the creation of these films.
Yeah.
Or alluded to the fact that it's the film's fault.
Yeah, exactly. And with Poltergeist particularly, there's kind of 3 like areas that are believed to. So the first one is that they used real human skeletons in the film.
I mean, I had no idea.
That's kind of barbaric to me.
I mean, it's speechless.
Yeah.
You can hear it. I didn't even know that.
Or you can't hear it because he didn't say anything.
Well, there you go. Speechless.
But yeah, one of the most persistent theories surrounding the curse is the production's use of real life skeletons instead of plastic prop ones during the filming of the first movie. So apparently it was a cost cutting decision that was reportedly made because purchasing actual human skeletons from medical supply companies turned out to be cheaper than manufacturing synthetic replicas.
It's wild because in the film they're like covered in mud.
Yeah.
So it's like you could have made them out of probably anything.
Yeah, nobody really would
plastic
have like
bottles even.
Yeah.
I'd have given plastic bottles a use.
Well, the worst bit of this is that the main actress in the film, Jo Beth Williams, who plays the mother of the family, Diane, and actually has a little bit of a swim around with a couple of these corpses.
Yeah.
She famously found out years later that she had been like swimming around in human remains in that like climactic pool scene. And she just stated that she would have been screaming a hell of a lot more, like for real, if she knew that.
Yeah, I mean, as would anyone.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen the pool scene or like Poltergeist, go and check out the pool scene on YouTube just for this point. And it will probably change the context because when we watched it last, I didn't click because I didn't know that.
Yeah. And then you watch it again and you think, oh my God.
It's like looking back at it again, I'd think, oh my, I just didn't know that. That's crazy.
It's absolutely wild.
And that obviously comes, with the theory that the act of using genuine human remains is believed by some to have disturbed spirits, actually disturb the spirits of the people.
I wonder why.
And cause some paranormal activity, which according to the film's own theme is what happens when burial grounds are disrespected.
Which is so ironic. You're making a film about disrespecting burial grounds.
There's no more irony than that.
To go and disrespect people's burial grounds. It doesn't make any sense at all.
What are you doing? I think they just wanted a real life poltergeist.
I think they 100% did want a real life poltergeist.
I think so.
They were just asking for it.
They were.
Yeah.
Yeah. And obviously there's a lot of paranormal activity that occurred on set according to these urban legends about the film. So obviously, which we'll come to in the moment, there was quite a few cast deaths, unfortunately, which is probably the more famous aspect of the Poltergeist curse, as it's called. But there are several unusual and unsettling occurrences that were reported during the production of all of the films, like the trilogy. So this included like moving objects. So Jo Beth Williams claimed that she had returned to her trailer and find pictures on the wall askew, even after she straightened them herself, which is really bizarre. And this also included the choking clown incident, which, if you haven't seen Poltergeist, there's a scene towards the end climax where the puppet toy clown actually strangles the young boy.
Which I don't know why you would have a puppet toy clown in your bedroom anyway. That is
just
absolutely horrifying.
Yeah. And, obviously this is one of the most frightening scenes in the film. The prop clown doll was actually supposed to choke the actor, so Oliver Robbins, who played Robbie. the young boy. And the prop malfunctioned. The actor was actually choked during the scene, which required Steven Spielberg to intervene himself.
Not Steven Spielberg actually having to get up and being like, that's enough.
Yeah, that's enough choking.
Can you, like the Steven Spielberg saving you from choking?
Just, yeah. I mean, a clown that malfunction. I mean, how can it malfunction?
And also, like, Steven Spielberg is like, he's used to all these like dramatized things in movies, right? So when this guy stands up and he's like, hold on, that's too far.
Yeah, I had to get involved here.
Yeah, because you're actually being physically choked by something.
Yeah, that's not a person.
Is like, it's wild.
Yeah.
But not as wild as the other bit of Paranormal Activity on set, which is actually an on-set exorcism.
Blimey.
Yeah. So Will Sampson, who is a real-life Native American man, who is actually a shaman, performed an authentic exorcism on the set for Poltergeist 2 after feeling that the set was haunted.
No wonder why they disturbed the bodies in the first one.
Yeah. This movie just keeps on getting like wilder and wilder. There is then also a premonition that happened on set, and it's the actress who was playing, excuse me again, Tangina or Tangina,
no.
Not quite sure, claimed that during the filming of the Poltergeist 3, she saw a shining light that appeared on one of the photographs that had been taken of her. And according to her, the photo itself was taken at the exact moment that her real life mum had died.
That's crazy.
Which is wild.
I can't believe that.
It's really beautiful, actually, that aspect of it.
Yeah.
But it's still absolutely crazy.
It's beautiful, but again, adding to the whole poltergeist curse theory, that's... Wow. I mean, that's something. Mm-hmm. That really is something.
And speaking of deaths that are related to the cast...
And very untimely ones of that.
That leads us to the deaths of some of the actual cast members.
There's 4 of them.
Mm-hmm.
And this happened within 6 years of the first film release, and are often, like I said earlier, like the famous sort of primary foundation of the curse's legends.
Yeah, and unfortunately I think for this film the curse kind of outspeaks the film. I think the curse is more well known than the actual film itself.
The film's known for being cursed. And it is like the cursed horror film.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
Yeah. But after you hear these, then it's kind of understandable as to why people think that. The first death was that of Dominique Dune, who just 5 months after the first film's release in 1982, the 22-year-old actress was actually strangled to death by her ex-boyfriend, and he was convicted for voluntary manslaughter but only served a few years in prison.
That's, again, wild.
It is absolutely crazy and so like heartbreaking as well. Imagine like being in this really huge film.
Yeah.
Like you're 22, you're rising to stardom, and all of that is stolen from you
by some
jealous ex. Yeah,
it goes beyond that. That's just. I mean, I didn't know about this one before we researched.
Yeah.
That's crazy and really sad.
It is really, really sad.
But you know, the one that I think everybody knows, notably, is of Heather O'Rourke, who played Carol Ann, so the young girl in Poltergeist. Obviously, she's the young star of all 3, like I said, and she tragically died at the age of 12 in 1988. And her death was ruled as a cardiac arrest caused by a septic shock from a misdiagnosed intestinal issue. So, again, that's another untimely demise.
Yeah, it's
and
so
young,
devastating.
and to have some sort of issue with the intestine.
Well, she was only a child.
Yeah, to have some sort of issue with the intestine at that age is, and a cardiac arrest all at the same time.
Yeah.
That's probably quite unheard of as well at that age, being so young. But again, it's so sad that happened to another cast member, and that obviously is probably the most famous one out of all of these.
Yeah.
Which, is followed by other untimely deaths
Unfortunately.
that unfortunately occurred. That being of Julian Beck, who played Henry Kane. So this is the villainous preacher in Poltergeist, who died from stomach cancer in 1985 before the release of the second one, which is Poltergeist 2, The Other Side.
Mm-hmm.
So another untimely death of another cast member of Poltergeist within such a short space of time, again, of the first film's release.
And finally, as I had mentioned previously about the exorcism that took place on the set, Will Sampson himself, who was actually the shaman that we were just talking about, he was an actor from the film and he played Taylor, and he passed away in 1987 from post-operative complications following a heart and lung transplant.
Again, all of these people within 6 years of the first film coming out.
I know. It's absolutely wild.
It's just, I don't know. I mean...
But it's completely baffling. How can one film have this much bad luck?
Yeah, it seems to have brought bad luck.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, it could be a massive coincidence that everything's happened all at once.
Yeah.
But again, it's very much something that's worth being an urban legend of the Poltergeist curse, in which all of these people have unfortunately passed within such a short space of time, in less than a decade. And
it is like absolutely crazy as well that you would think kind of after the first kind of death, you would kind of deem it to be like a tragedy, right? You would think this is such an unfortunate thing that has like occurred, and especially with it being the death of Dominique or Dana in the film, where she was so young, you would think like that's so awful and so tragic, but you would just deem it as like a one-off, right?
A one-off tragedy of someone who's rising to stardom and some jealous ex, extremely like,
because really bad things happen in Hollywood, so you would just deem it as that, right? But when the second one happens, you think, oh, okay, that's also really bad and really awful and really tragic.
So it would have been Julian Beck, and then it would have been Will Sampson, and then it would have been the final one, which is the main character. Yeah. Which is, again, that adds to the urban legend.
Yeah.
Which is in 1988.
Like you hear the second one and you think, okay, that's a bit weird, but it's still really tragic. Like, it must just be a coincidence. And then you get to the third one and you're like, hold on a minute. Something must be happening here. Yeah. And then the fourth one just knocks it out of the park.
Yeah, especially when it is like the star.
And she's 12 years old.
The star, the young star, and probably had, I'm sure, a very massive future ahead, and like a horror icon. You know? Yeah. And she is a horror icon in that regard, because she is the main character of such an iconic film franchise and influential film set of films, in terms of horror and paranormal stuff, that her untimely demise makes it even more tragic.
It really does.
In my opinion.
So just on the back of reading about all four of those very untimely and very unfortunate incidents that did occur, leading to the untimely deaths of 4 of the cast members from the film, we just want to give our condolences to these people who are obviously at the start of some major stardom, and we hope that they just had an amazing time while they were filming, and that even in their last moments they knew that they would have such an amazing legacy left to the rest of the world with Poltergeist.
Yeah, such an impact.
Yeah, such an important film, like we were saying, for the supernatural subgenre, and it just leaves you completely speechless.
It does. It's tragic. That's the word.
It really is. And on that solemn note, that will take us to the Shivering Soundtracks part of the episode.
So the Poltergeist soundtrack, is very iconic. Perhaps not as iconic as, say, your Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street, or any of these types of movies, but yet it is composed by the great Jerry Goldsmith, who is behind classics such as The Omen and, more notably, Alien. Soundtrack very, very mysterious and very ominous. And if you haven't listened to it, go and check it out. It's really good. So again, it has very much a use of the classical orchestra. It mainly optimizes using woodwinds accompanied by strings for texture, and it uses very powerful brass for the very tense parts of the film.
which Goldsmith is known for because of his use of like woodwind textures.
Yeah, and you can very much hear it in Alien, like a lot of the calmer ones or the mysterious parts of the soundtrack are very much utilising, you know, your flutes or your oboes or, you know, clarinets often. Which, like, you know, like I say, adds that whole sense of mystery, and that's what Poltergeist is at the end of the day. It is a giant mystery to the disappearance of Carol Ann.
Yeah. But in there is also hints of electronic instruments that I'm assuming again would have been used for texture in that.
Yeah, and you know, this was used during the rise of like synthesizers during the 1980s, because that's when they sort of came into the world of music.
Nothing was made in the 80s without a synth, basically.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And we were blessed with, or perhaps not, with at points with the rise of synthesizers. And you know, they're not used widely during Poltergeist, but they are there, and they do create an otherworldly soundscape that, you know, will accompany the orchestra, which are also accompanied by choirs, which is again a very Jerry Goldsmith thing, which is used in The Omen massively.
Yeah, well, I mean, it helps to give it that like metaphysical and like religious like vibe and connotation.
It does, you know, and it gives off the, you know, the illusion that the characters are dealing with a power that is greater than them, which, you know, is very unknown and again otherworldly. Because choirs are often, you associate choirs with religion often because of like gospel choirs and churches. So when there's like a choir, it's like that power that is like so metaphysical, that it's so above our knowledge, that we're dealing with something that's beyond what we can comprehend, essentially. And that's what those sort of techniques are illustrating across the film and across all horror films. Usually it's something very, very large and grand. You know, across the film you have a very much a freedom of tempo, which is known as the rubato, which is the term that, you know, essentially means like a free tempo, which makes the soundtrack very unpredictable and natural, as if it has essentially has a life of its own, a bit like these Poltergeists. So the soundtrack is very melodic, but it very much moves at its own pace.
But it completely reflects what's happening in the film, which I think is so important with music, especially in horror as a genre. Like, it really needs to reflect what's going on. I mean, films do that anyway, but I think that when you're looking at like kind of a film that's like horror based versus a romance film, just for example, if you're doing something that's romance based, you can kind of like dilly-dally a bit off of what's actually going on in the scene, and you can just kind of continue to compose something that feels right and feels romantic.
It's all about feel.
And you can make it fit into the film. Whereas I feel like more specifically with horror, it needs to fit into that scene itself.
It does.
And like, you can still like stray away from what's going on in the scene.
But I feel like you need... Sometimes it's very effective.
Sometimes it is very effective. But I feel like majority of the time, it really needs to reflect directly what's going on.
It does.
For it to have that really like
impact,
major impact that you want it to have, you know.
100%. And you know, obviously these are combined with like long held notes or tremolos or trills, which are kind of like those sort of sounds, like the classic like that's a very bad impression. But that is the classic sort of horror sound. It goes between two notes or a couple of notes, depending on the interval between them, which basically means the space between two notes, which again, if it's bouncing between two notes at a very fast pace, it kind of keeps you on that edge, that cliffhanger, which again is obviously achieved through the strings, adds to the tension, and is accompanied with gliding notes, which is known as a glissando in music, which essentially means to glide. Which swoop up and down, so it'd be like a sort of sound, come back up, which gives a sense of spiraling, which appears frequently in the score, and is widely used again in horror soundtracks to convey the same emotion. So back when, you know, as an example, when I had the pleasure of composing the music to Jodie's film, Read Between the Lines.
We'll leave a link to it in the description if anybody wants to go and watch it.
If you're interested in seeing Jodie's short film that she made, when we went to watch Nosferatu, the Robert Eggers version, in the cinema, I was very much pointing out these glissando sounds, like the swooping, spiraling sound.
Which I think is so important for films that do play in with that more like supernatural aspect.
Yeah.
Because obviously you're crossing that line between that dimension of the supernatural and the unknown and tethering that to the world that we're in at the moment. So that kind of smooth glissando really like transports you across those two realms.
It does.
Like obviously melodically and in your head as much as you are visually on screen.
Yeah. And that sort of sense of dread, like everything's coming down, everything's coming up, is very much, it's very scary to hear.
It is very scary.
And again, like the film's main character, Carol Ann, has a leitmotif.
Which is so important with these films.
It is. Like, leitmotifs are like, you know, they're pieces of music which are utilised. You know, they represent characters. And it's sort of, when you hear the music, you forge an association with them.
Yeah.
And the music. So when, like, Jaws is like the classic example. When you hear that's when you know the shark is coming.
Yeah.
You can't see the shark yet.
But you know
it
it's
represents
there.
it.
Yeah.
So it's a subconscious thing where you think, oh, no, the shark's coming. In this film, again, I mean, pretty much all films have a leitmotif of some sort.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's just the power of association, isn't it?
Forges a connection. And in this case, the soundtrack can often between a very happy or major sound, which is associated with Carol Ann being, you know, an adolescent. She's very young, is very happy within amongst something like this. And again, having that type of soundtrack in a horror setting is unsettling, because you think, why is it so happy when this is a horror film, you know?
Yeah.
But the sound, her leitmotif does come back again sometimes, and towards the end, in unsettling or like dissonant or minor versions, which is a division between the two emotions. It makes those emotions much more extreme. The division between those.
I think especially when it's meant to be happening in such like a mundane and happy environment as well. Like this is like their family home that this is happening in.
Yeah.
So really taking that like happy like aura to fill a space.
Yeah.
And then dwindling all of it into this really unsettling and like dissonant sound.
Yeah.
Like that you couldn't get further between the two of them.
Yeah.
Than what is done with the music in this film.
Yeah, exactly. And again, it evokes that unease on the audience and like adds that again suspense because, you know, it very much, it goes off key to what you've heard her theme be before, and when you hear it in like a weird way, you think oh shit.
Especially when things are off key, like even if you're expecting that like little glissando and you're expecting it to like go down, if there's that little offset of like it's not it's not right, and you think automatically, oh, this isn't right.
It makes you feel uneasy immediately just hearing it, and that's the power of Jerry Goldsmith's work in Poltergeist and across all of his discography of music scores for films. Again, it's a very masterful soundtrack.
It really is.
If you haven't listened to it, please go and have a listen.
It was one of my favourite aspects of the film. Like, I know we were saying before that the acting was like very melodramatic and very 80s, and it's very like in your face, like kind of over dramatized for like a few of the scenes. But I think that the soundtrack is definitely something that is completely timeless.
It is. It's timeless and it's tasteful.
Yeah.
That is the two words.
Which is so important for a film of this like kind of
magnitude and impact. 100%. And having a little chin wag about the soundtrack leads us on to our good old section
of chin wags, aka ghostly gossip. For this week's ghostly gossip section, we are going to be revisiting the Isle of Wight, and we are going to be talking about the Star Inn in Wroxall. And you may be listening to me and thinking, Jodie, why the bloody hell are we talking about another inn on that damned bloody ghostly island?
Oh, yes.
And I will tell you why.
Yeah.
That is because this is another inn on the island with a poltergeist.
Absolutely.
And that's what the theme of this episode is. So listen to me as we venture deeper into this. So, reports of a poltergeist at the Star Inn in Wroxall have gained media attention from 2018 after security footage appeared to show an object being knocked over by an unseen force. If you have seen this video, it's really like mind-blowing. If you haven't seen the video, we'll leave a link to it in the description.
Yeah, it's very weird.
Staff and paranormal investigators have described the pub as haunted by multiple apparitions, and paranormal activity has been reported continually over the years. So in the 2018 CCTV footage, it's captured in September of 2018, and it is a video of a glass that was like filmed sliding itself off of a shelf that was under the bar and then smashing on the floor. Now, I don't know if you worked behind a bar before, but obviously when you're stood, there are beer taps all in front of you, and then there are the beer glasses on multiple different shelves underneath the beer taps, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Unfortunately, we both worked in hospitality. We both know how this goes.
Yes.
But these shelves are very, very sturdy. They're obviously holding very heavy glasses because they're used for gins and beers and scotch and water and whatever you think. Glass is heavy, right?
100%.
Yeah, so all of these glasses are on these shelves, and they're very, very sturdy shelves. They're not at an angle because otherwise all of them would have fallen off. But in this video, you see this singular glass slide from the back of the shelf. It's not like it was teetering on the edge or anything. It slides from the back of the shelf all the way forward and then knocks off and smashes all over the floor.
Creepy.
Yeah.
That is creepy.
Very, very like...
I remember seeing it.
You watch it and you just gasp because you think like...
Yeah.
You think, what?
But I remember I showed you it when we were looking for things for the ghostly gossip this week.
Yeah.
And I was like, just look at that, and bam.
Literally out loud I went,
Yeah, you're like, oh my goodness.
yeah.
So we had to include it this week.
So based on that video, we have the landlady Toni Brennan, who initially had been a skeptic. After watching that video, she like did her best to try and find a rational explanation for the incident, but she couldn't find anything. She did note that the glass was a few inches away from the edge of the shelf, and so, but in the video you can see that it's more than a few inches away.
Yeah,
it looks like it's like more than 6 to like 8 inches away from the edge of the shelf.
It's in there. It's definitely
in there, and it's definitely at the back, or like around the back of the shelf. And obviously, like, it's the Isle of Wight. There's a lot of fields. There's a lot of tractors. There's a lot of farmers everywhere.
Yeah.
So people thought maybe it's a tractor that's gone past, or like maybe it's traffic from the road that's next to it. If it was that case, then all the glasses would be shaking off all the time.
They would.
And this was the only singular incidence of this.
But none of the glasses were shaking.
Yeah. Or
Apart
at
from
least
that one.
the singular incidents at this time.
Yeah.
But it doesn't happen frequently enough for it to be caused by traffic, which is there every day.
Yeah.
So that really kind of set in some like fear and confusion into these people that work here and the landlady who like owns it.
Yeah, it did.
The footage after it was released then brought in 3 separate paranormal investigators to the pub, and they did their own coverage in the Isle of Wight Observer,
which is a Isle of Wight newspaper. If you don't know, which you probably don't if you're not from here.
Yeah. So it was quite a notable event that happened in the pub. I mean, it caught the attention of the local newspaper pretty much. So
yeah, very much so.
Yeah. From there was other reported paranormal events.
Yep. So staff have experienced other unsettling phenomena in the pub over the many years of working there, and it having existed. So a quote-unquote presence in 2015 to 2017, when the pub was named the Four Seasons, former employee Andrew Rye always felt a presence there and was particularly unnerved when locking up. There were unexplained sounds on occasion. Rye had heard her name being called out after all the customers had left and she had fled the pub in fright. And there were accounts of ghostly figures as well. So another employee recalled seeing figures moving past the alcoves in the restaurant area, thinking it was her boss, only to find out that she had been upstairs the whole time, which is wild to me as well. That's, that must have been really scary. And again, there's things called phantom bells. So on occasions, the service bell from the kitchen was heard ringing, but the chef confirmed that he had not rung it. So all of these accounts in one place.
That one really kind of shakes me up.
That
so,
sort of
to hear
make
a
your heart
kitchen,
sink.
Hear a kitchen bell and run in there and think wait, what?
Yeah, you'd think, oh blimey,
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know, like that type of thing. We should be used to this kind of ghostly stuff now.
We really should by now. Yeah.
This all happened in one pub. you know.
Yeah, there are different kind of hauntings that do go on in the local area of Wroxall and kind of in and about that space. Some of the most notable ones are Appledurkham House, which we did previously mention.
It's very famous.
Yeah, in one of the first episodes, it's one of the most famous haunted places on the entire Isle of Wight. And also just in the area of Wroxall, we have a phantom carriage. There are phantom monks. You can hear the sound of babies crying in certain areas. There are sudden temperature changes, like all around the place. And also the story of the elegant green lady.
It's very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I believe all of these are from Appledurkham House. These are all things that are within the area of Appledurkham.
Which are all very close to the Star Inn.
Yeah, it's all in the same town. Wroxall's a very small town on the Isle of Wight. Sort of towards Ventnor, which is where we spoke about the Bearded Sailor, which is where, near Blackgang, this is quite close in that regard. So, again, it's just so spooky.
It really is,
stuff.
yeah.
You can check out Appledurkham House. I mean, we'll leave a link in the description, and all of these videos that we're talking about will be in the description as well.
And if you want us to go to the Star Inn, and if you want us to make a video about us going there and even paranormally investigating it, then please let us know, and we will try to arrange that if there's enough people that are interested in us going and doing that type of stuff. So if you want to go and leave suggestions like that, or if there's other places on the island that you want us to go and visit, then go over to Patreon. Again, it's less than a cup of coffee.
Yeah, and you know we absolutely want to do these things, and we want to give you guys the spookiest content possible, and we really want to just shine a light on the Isle of Wight's, you know, culture of it being, you know, one of many amazing aspects of it, but such an interesting aspect of it being so spooky and, you know, haunted. And it's obviously one of the most haunted places in the entire UK, and one of the most haunted islands, if not the most haunted island in the world, under obviously some very famous ones. Yeah. But in the UK especially, it's very, very, very haunted. So just let us know. Let us know, and we'll absolutely want to go and do that for you guys.
And after that little plug, that's going to lead us nicely into the spooky spotlight.
So for this week, we held a little Instagram poll. And it was to guess the content of, or the theme, I suppose, of what this episode was going to be about.
It certainly was.
And we presented it as ghosts, zombies, werewolves, and vampires. And we had quite a few voters this time. And we had, you know, more than last time, which thank you. I want to say, first of all, to every single one of you that voted on our poll, a massive thank you.
Yeah, thank you all so much.
You know, interacting with us, interacting with the Mad Boo brand and the community, it means more to us than you'd ever know. So, on that note, here are the winners who actually got it right. Yeah.
So just to preface this by saying, we know that this episode isn't specifically about ghosts. However, with Poltergeist being a type of ghost, we felt that it was right to label the poll as ghosts. Yeah. Because if we had put in there vampires, werewolves, poltergeists, and then another option, it would scream out as the only one of that kind of like... niche one. It's quite a niche one to chuck in there. So that's why we kind of gave it the overbranching word of ghosts. Yeah, it'd have stood out too much. So if you are any of these people, you got it right. So well done. That's all we say. And thank you. We love you just a little bit more than everybody else. Just a little bit more. Just a little bit more. But we love all of you. Yeah, we do. We appreciate everybody so much. But these are our spooky spotlights for this week. The first one that we have is Callum, aka my baby brother. Well done, Callum. You are a member of the spooky spotlight. You are. And the last two that got it right was my own mum and dad. So again, amazing. Sam's dad is making a comeback. I know it sounds like we just have family interacting, but I promise you we didn't. But it seems that our family were the ones that got it right. Yeah. And, you know, they didn't actually know what the episode was going to be because we surprise them every week. None of them had any idea this time about what the actual episode theming was going to be. So well done to you three. Yeah. You got it right. And everybody else who voted on the poll, a massive well done to you for... you know, just interacting and engaging with us. We really do appreciate all of you. So go and head on to our Instagram, check out polls on the stories, keep an eye out for those, and you know,
you can be featured on the Spooky Spotlight. And
Yep.
if you're a part of the Patreon membership, if enough of you guys will get very special mentions in our Spooky Spotlight sections. So
And what we would like to do eventually is when we eventually start making possibly a little bit of revenue off of Bad Boo and off of our like spooky empire that we're trying to build with you guys, we would love to give back to you guys. So if you do want to be our Spooky Spotlight, then eventually we would like to give out small gifts that we can send to you guys to really show how appreciative we are. So if that's something that you'd be interested in signing up for, or if that's something that you want to help us achieve, then please make sure that you go and follow us on Patreon and Facebook and TikTok and Instagram and
All the
everywhere that you
links
can.
It'll be in the description.
It's all in the description, and it's all just the click of a button away.
So please go and do that. And just a little nod here. When I said about werewolves, zombies and vampires, just keep an eye out.
Yep,
There will be some episodes coming up about these 3 topics.
there definitely will be.
So stay tuned for some Bad Boo spooks.
And that leads us to the close of today's episode. And we hope that you have been just as scared as we have, and that you've enjoyed yourselves as well.
So if you've enjoyed tonight's tiptoe into the pools of Poltergeists, then don't forget to like, share and subscribe for Bad Boo updates and new episodes, as there's plenty more frights, flicks and folklore to come.
You can also haunt us on socials at Bad Boo Productions, where you can interact and leave suggestions for future episodes, or even contribute through polls and posts.
If you're after more creepy content, then our Patreon is now live. So if you'd like to hear and even see more of us, then head over there for exclusive Boo Crew videos, stories and live streams.
That's all from us for this ghoulish, ghastly episode today, and we have been your haunted hosts, Sam and Jodie, unravelling the dark so that you don't have to. And until next time, keep your lights on, your doors locked, and remember, the shadows are never